Hey, gamers! Welcome back to SPIEL X, your go-to for all things gaming. Today, we're diving into a topic that's sure to get you pumped, the best turn-based combat games. Whether you're a hardcore strategist or just love a good challenge, we've got a list that'll keep you entertained for hours. So, grab your snacks, get comfy, and let's jump into some epic battles together. There have been quite a few challengers to SCOM's turn-based tactical throne in recent years. Some have been good, some not so good. As much as the Gears of War third-person shooter franchise is well regarded, we're still surprised at how good its turn-based tactics spin-off is in Gears Tactics. Set before the events of the original Gears of War, this game is essentially a series of tactical battles strung together by a narrative and some light progression mechanics. There's no strategy layer, and while there's some persistence for the main characters, it mainly revolves around loot and some basic skill trees. It's not perfect, but its imperfections stand to highlight further just how solid the rest of it is. One innovation they've tried to carry over from the shooter series is the boss battle elements. These work in the tactical sphere but can still be a bit clunky. Still, if you're looking for something to scratch that turn-based tactics itch, this is one of the best newcomers. Endless Legend is a fantasy tactical game, created by the studio behind Endless Space. The goal of the player is to dominate the world of Ariga with one of the available 14 races. The player can use either diplomacy or war while simultaneously developing new technologies and exploring new lands and cities. A big part of the strategy in the game is controlling territory. Setting up cities in the optimum areas is a very important part of the strategy of the game. The variety of methods through which the game can be approached makes it a very immersive experience. Sequel to 2014's Wasteland 2, this series has been quietly competing with the likes of Fallout to offer a post-apocalyptic RPG experience. Whereas Bethesda's series went down the first-person route, Wasteland has stuck with the original Fallout game's premise, with tactical battles that have more in common with XCOM. Wasteland 3 is bigger and better than the previous game, although not without some technical wiggles that still need ironing out. From its clever writing, engaging setting, and dedication to ensuring you feel every consequence of your choices, finding a more roundly satisfying role-playing experience will be difficult this year. One for those looking to scratch that XCOM or Fallout itch in an apocalypse game that offers the best of both those worlds. Check out our Wasteland 3 review for more thoughts. Divinity, Original Sin 2 offers so much freedom that creativity and imagination become the only limitations in this RPG. In Divinity, Original Sin 2, there is a lot of battling involved, often requiring different strategies depending on the enemy. Not only do you have to manage the actions of your party members one by one, but you also strategize how to utilize their skills, of which there are over 200, their items, and the terrain around you as effectively as possible. Logic Artists has spent the past decade perfecting its unique blend of turn-based strategy RPG that focuses heavily on exploration and mechanics intrinsically tied to each game's core theme. From Expeditions, Conquistadors to the Viking power fantasy of Expeditions, Vikings, the studio has recently transported us to hallowed antiquity and the height of the Roman Republic. Easily the best entry in the series to date, Expeditions, Rome sees your character fleeing the capital and the machinations of the Senate to earn a reputation out in one of Rome's many theaters of war. You will lead a small band of companions, the Speculators, but you'll also command an entire army that is almost its character. The series' legacy for exploration is still strong here as you lead your special band around the map going out on quests, all packaged as part of some of the less high-profile activities surrounding a military campaign. Setting up alliances, scouting, removing key obstacles, you'll lead the charge on all of it. In the background, you can order your legion around the campaign space to set up bases and secure resources. A more pitched battle will need to be fought occasionally, and there's a separate mini-game for that. Fighting against an evil, all-powerful, dimension-hopping empire might sound like a losing battle, but it's one you'll enjoy losing over and over again in this roguelike/tactical RPG mashup that sees you doing just that. As you lose the fight for one reality, you hop onto the next one to continue the fight there, keeping the experience and gear you've earned so far. Star Renegades is the complete package, very deep combat mechanics, a beautiful pixel art world, and RPG elements that, while sometimes cumbersome, enrich the wider story. The game's only weak point is that it can run out of steam too quickly. After a few reruns, things start to get the same, but this has always been a delicate balancing act with this genre. Aside from that, you do well giving this game your attention. Wildermyth is one of the most underrated indie titles that more people need to check out. This game combines the best of both tactical combat and procedural storytelling to make for a role-playing experience that's unlike anything that fans have ever experienced. The fact that every campaign is filled to the brim with unique storylines makes Wildermyth a tale for the ages every single time. Players can sink tons of hours into the journey of their heroes, watching old ones either fall or pass the torch over to a new generation. This white-knuckle spy thriller drops players into the height of the Cold War. Starting as an agent of either the CIA or the KGB, you'll unravel a worldwide conspiracy that threatens to upend the global order. The game adds a stealth element to grid-based tactical gameplay as your agents use disguises, lockpicks, and silencers to get in and out of secure areas. When things go sour, you'll need to use your wits and your weapons to hold off until your team can be extracted, or cut your losses and strand your agents, risking their capture or worse. Inspired by real events and, hopefully, fictional top-secret projects, Phantom Doctrine allows players to capture enemy agents on certain turns, interrogating them for intel before making them disappear. Alternately, you can send them home with a trigger phrase and strike your enemies from within. If you ever wanted a strategy RPG in which you control an organization dedicated to protecting the Earth from an alien invasion, yet your trained soldiers miss the aliens' heads at point-blank range, then XCOM 2 is the game for you. All jokes aside, this is a fantastic sci-fi tactical game where you must think strategically both in and outside of combat. Each character gets their own individual turns, during which they can move, use skills, or attack. XCOM 2 builds on the original and gets you thinking more strategically since you have to make sure the right moves are executed with each of your soldiers during combat and without getting them picked off one by one. Lots of 4X strategy games have a manual combat option. These tactical battles are usually an afterthought, a mini-game that lets the player outsmart the AI. In Age of Wonders, Planetfall, tactical battles are the main event. Don't get us wrong, Planetfall's strategic layer is a top-notch game in and of itself, but this title truly shines when you've mastered the tactical layer as well. With multiple factions and tech trees to choose from and a huge array of equipment and modifications for each unit, you can tailor your combat strategy any way you see fit. The game's largest engagements, usually an assault on a fortified city in the late game, can see dozens of units on each side, providing tactical depth not seen in many other strategy games. Jagged Alliance had been in a rough spot for years, with one entry after another seemingly failing to touch upon Jagged Alliance 2's true greatness. Then, Jagged Alliance 3 came crashing through the proverbial wall, finally giving fans something new to play. It's strange, too, JA3 totally sidesteps almost all the mistakes made by its predecessors while feeling appropriately retro in some ways. What novelties there are meaningful and interesting, and they genuinely add to the experience. It may have been decades since the last new Baldur's Gate game, but the years of being in early access have paid off for Baldur's Gate 3. The D&D game has made history in garnering almost universal acclaim from fans, including us, which you can read in our Baldur's Gate 3 review. It doesn't just begin with choosing which Baldur's Gate 3 class goes best with our pick of the many Baldur's Gate 3 races. We soon meet our faithful Baldur's Gate 3 companions, whom we bond with on our fateful journey to get mind flayer parasites out of our brains. We pass through burnt-down villages, venture into the Underdark, and even into the titular city. It's not quite the same rules as D&D 5th edition, perhaps acting as a testing ground for a future edition, but the similarities are there for those familiar with the tabletop RPG engine. Where Larian excels, though, is in making us care about everyone and everything we encounter. We have our favorites, of course, and while some of us appreciate Asterian's sass, many of us think that Karlach is an absolute sweetie. Whoever you bring on your adventure, it'll be a saga that you'll never forget. So, did you like the games I recommended? So leave your like, subscribe to the channel to follow me and activate the bell because I post a lot of videos on this channel and you can't miss it. Thank you very much for following me this far and until next time, bye.